came up with your barking dog.
I did. I named her Nala.
Nala. Ah.
There she is.
Is her tongue sticking out? Is that what that is?
No, she just looks sad.
It's just extra skin.
Yeah, she just kind of has a pouty, like sad dog begging face on her.
Yeah. So how did your week go? Did it help you identifying your barking dog?
It definitely did. I realized I'm pretty quick to anger about certain things I don't want to do. Like at the job in the morning, like they wanted me to move the towels from the washer to the dryer and fold like 100 towels. And I was just so upset. I'm like, this wasn't in the job description, folding towels. And I was just like sitting there like folding towels.
Going through all the things in your head.
And I was like, I shouldn't be doing this. They should hire someone else to fold towels and I should be in the office. And I'm like, what does it matter? Either way, I'm getting paid. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I'm still here. There's no one calling in the office right now. And they're at the desk and doing nothing. So I just like, okay, take a deep breath. It's not a big deal. It's just towels.
See?
Yeah.
I love that. It worked out. It helped you.
So it was just like one of those things that just like made me so angry. I'm like, why? Like, if he's going to drive stupid, that doesn't mean I have to let him make me feel like I need to drive stupid as well. Like something I don't want to do. I don't want to drive silly. I don't want to get in a wreck if he wants to cause a wreck because he wants to get to school or it makes me so mad. And I was starting to get like, like when you get mad, you kind of feel like your heart starts beating fast. And I felt my heart start beating fast. And I was right about to get to work. I'm like, I need to calm down. There's no reason I need to be this mad for someone that is trying to make me mad. I just need to let them do that. And that's another thing too. If someone's frustrated and they take it out on you, I've started to realize that too, is that I don't need to meet that with them. Like I don't need to meet them being angry because they're frustrated.
You don't need to take on their emotion.
Their energy. Yeah. And I feel like I do that with emotion. I'm so good at just absorbing it and making it my own, and I don't need to do that. And I think that's part of my barking dog too, is taking on others' emotions. What really just ruins my day, and I just need to let it go.
It's so true, Jordan. And I'm so glad that you're getting that at the age that you are, because I didn't know that at your age.
And it's definitely like, that's probably the biggest one for me, is that I've tried to notice that is they're going to be that angry. They're going to live that way. That doesn't mean I need to absorb it and make it my own, or even just in relation to me, they can be upset by themselves.
Yeah. It's like you can still be there for them, but it doesn't mean you absorb all of their energy and take on their problems.
Yeah. And I'm trying to be better about that. That's just the biggest thing I'm trying to be better about, and I'm noticing more. And I mean, it takes a lot of work. We can't change overnight or go switch back to our old ways. It's super easy just to switch back. So I mean, at least noticing my barking dog when it's happening, and even if it's already happened, be like, well, at least I know it happened and I can try to work on it.
To me, you just won, because some people can't get there. Some people can't even notice what it's saying because it's so ingrained in who they are and their brain, they can't separate it. So just the fact that you've already separated it, you've heard those words. Did you journal? Did you write? Did you like find all this out in your journaling?
So I write down goals every morning. And it was actually, and some of them are just like, basic, like things I need to do goals. And then at the end of it, like I've started writing down, I mean, I did it every once in a while, but it was like last week or something after we talked about it briefly. It was like another coworker was upset, and him taking out it on me made me upset. And it was just like, well, what's the point of me being here? Like just totally like made me upset. And I was like, you know what? Try my best. That's all I can do, is try my best. So every day since we've talked, at the end of my goals list, I say, try my best. And just like, okay, this is what I can try my best at, and try not to be angry, or noticing when I do and writing it down. And then it's like your journal gets filled up and you realize how angry you get about small things. It's like, it's not worth filling up my journal with angry things, and rather just good things, and like try better. And take a deep breath, look back and reflect rather than get mad at.
I know what you mean about getting away with the writing, and the journaling. And then sometimes because they say, you got to work through it. You got to
Mhm.
let the emotion pass through you. And one way to do that is through the basal ganglia in your brain. When you write, it
Yeah.
actually opens that part of your brain up where you can process information.
Mhm.
So if you don't know how to, like, you're trying to think things out, or you're trying to figure things out, or you're contemplating something, that's why grabbing that pen and just started, writing and using your hand
Yeah.
was just
And
so therapeutic.
And it is, and I was really good at it when I was just doing real estate. When I was just doing that, and then when I took on this other job, I realized I got out of that habit of writing my goals down in the morning. And it was
Mhm.
just like, well, why? Just because something in my lifestyle changed doesn't mean I still shouldn't have my daily goals.
Yeah.
If I'm not writing them down at home, the first thing I do when I get to that shop is write down my goals. And I was like, that's probably not a great thing, is I probably should be answering the phone, but I'm gonna write down my goals because I need to, focus and have goals and look back on it and be like, oh,
Mhm.
I did that already. Good. Like that's something. And then
Yeah.
try
And
my
that
best.
makes you feel good that
Yeah.
you actually accomplished something that you wrote down, right? It's
Yeah.
those
And I
little
actually,
things.
this is like a kind of a side note, but I wrote myself a letter a year ago to my future self and it got
You
in the mail.
did?
Yeah, I got in the mail during this
I
whole
love that.
thing like a couple days ago. And just like writing those letters and like seeing like, yeah, I didn't accomplish some of it, but still saying like in there too. I was like, it's true for this in 2024. I'm like, I said that in 2022. I said, shoot for this in 2024. And then I
Mhm.
said, get a new car. And I listed the car. I got that car this year. And then book this trip, which was Disney World. And we didn't go this year, but we booked it and we're going next year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's certain things, other things I didn't, accomplish, like, the amount of people I wanted to sell houses to or things like that. But it's still like, okay, 2023 is not over yet.
It's
I can
not.
still,
It's
I can
not.
still meet that goal and just to like write down those things and realize you actually accomplished things that you wanted to do last year and things you want to do next year is still things you want to do next year.
Yeah.
So it's good to write down those things, even if it's bad things like anger stuff.
Yeah.
But those good things too, it's just easier to focus it on one thing than pin it onto someone else
Mhm.
because pinning it onto even like an animal or a person and making that anger not, towards them or that other person
Mhm.
is not fair. And if they're angry, then them pinning it on you isn't fair either. And you need to realize that and not make it your own rather than
It's hard,
making
and
it your own.
it's
Yeah. It's
hard.
super hard. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's something we all can relate to for
Yeah.
ever, really, no matter
Uh-huh.
how hard we try. It's easy to be angry.
So I'm going along with it, with all of you as well. I'm a little bit further along, because I'm telling you what to do, but I'm also wanting to be in the week, in the moment with you. And there was
Yeah.
one day where, okay, I knew that was Tina, the barking dog.
Hmm.
And what are those things that she says to me specifically that are kind of on repeat, you know?
Hmm.
And once I noticed it, I also realized I couldn't get it out of my head. Like,
Hmm.
it was just like on repeat. And, one of the things that I learned was tell your spirit to lead. Tell your spirit to lead. So I did that. And I was like, spirit, lead, and shut the mouth of that barking dog right now. I want to change and I'm trying and I want you to lead. And honestly, I thought, oh, well, we'll just see how the day goes. And
Yeah.
right when I said that, it was gone. It
Good.
was gone. And I was going throughout my day and I just felt lighter. I
And
felt like something shifted. And I
even
kept
when you
thinking,
acknowledge that change, you feel a shift.
you're so
And
wise.
the first step is acknowledging it.
You are. You're right. The first step is, and it's about being aware,
Mhm.
of awareness, just being real. I'm
Yeah.
I'm amazed by what you experienced this week. I'm so
Thank
proud
you.
of you. Do you
Well, you helped
feel
me, so
do you feel like it helped you?
absolutely. Like I said, even just like not just personal stuff, but things that I look at, like looking at things differently, like rather
Yeah.
than, and of course it takes a second, or you just acknowledge it a lot quicker. I felt like I've acknowledged it a lot quicker now. Like today, for like I said, like for the car that was following me really
Mm-hmm.
close, like just realizing that I don't need to make that person make me feel so upset and then go about my whole morning being upset because one person followed me way too closely. So
I
it's
know,
like
and it happens to all of us,
it,
and it
yeah, it
happens all the
happens all the
time.
time. Yeah, it happens all the time. Like, what am I gonna do
Mhm.
about it? I can't do anything except move on and
Yeah,
continue on how I was doing and not let that affect me. And noticing that and noticing it quicker. Like the first one was, it took me like an hour to get over something. And then I realized throughout the week it was just like, okay, I don't need to let things affect me for an hour of my day to be upset. I can move
yeah.
on.
There
And
on to the next homework phase. So grounding.
mm,
What do you think grounding means?
grounding, like I almost think of self-deprecating. And
Hmm.
I know that's not like good because we're not
Yeah.
supposed to do that, but I think each person is their own biggest enemy at the end of the day. And
Hmm.
acknowledging that is a huge thing, is that we don't need to be that hard of ourselves. But
Hmm.
grounding to me is like taking away something that I liked, or be like, oh, you don't deserve that. You did something bad, or
I
it's
know. And that's really funny that you
yeah,
just said that because I swear I had this conversation in my head yesterday and thinking about those exact things. And I was like, if somebody asked me what I thought grounding was and I didn't know what it was, what would I say the definition was? I'm like, well, sitting in a corner with my nose in it, or my
yeah,
phone getting taken away, or,
yeah. Getting in
whatever it
trouble as a
is.
kid, like you're
You can't
grounded.
go out, you're grounded, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And I thought, oh,
exactly.
how funny. At my age, I want to be grounded, but at my kids' age, they don't want to be grounded. But grounding, in the world of spirit and what we're talking about is feeling your feet on the earth,
Yeah,
basically. Like, when you're all over the place and your head's just kind of flighty and you're thinking about so many things and you just can't decide and what, all these, right? Grounding is stop, put your feet on the ground, sit down, and be right here in the present moment. Have
hmm
you ever heard of Eckhart Tolle?
no,
Oh, he's probably the best person, the most chilled person in the entire world. Go look him up. But he teaches about being in the present moment.
I
And
definitely need work on that. My ADHD doesn't help that. That's just like the definition is
it
pretty much
is. I know. That's
I
why
can't
I only
focus on
taught
one thing.
kickbox and cycle and all those other crazy classes for years and wouldn't do yoga. I thought meditation was a joke. What do you mean? Pray. Just go
And
pray. What are
and
you
it's
meditating for? Well, in the Bible, it says, be still and know that I'm God. He tells us to listen. He also tells us to meditate in the Bible. Those words are in there. And so once I've gone through all of this for me is meditation, yoga. I love essential oils, incense, music. I love like those drum beats, the real deep ones. I love the
yeah,
bowls, like all those things, because those are vibrations and it's energy and your body has it. And some weird way it just aligns and it settles you.
just like reading or focusing or playing drums and just not something that is multiple things going on. I realize I can focus on that, like a puzzle even. It's just like
Hmm.
I'm focused on those pieces and putting it together. And that's just where I sit down and realize that's like the calmest point, is when I'm doing something with my hands, my brain's working as well, flipping a book page, making cookies, doing a
Oh, yeah.
puzzle, something like that work. Like my
Lighting a
hands and my brain.
candle.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
something is just like going on at the same time where my hands and my brain is doing it rather than like sitting. Because if I'm sitting doing nothing, oh my gosh, every minute feels like an hour. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just kind of where that's a good definition for grounding. I like that definition better than grounding yourself.
I know, right? Take away. So this week, I want you to find a new practice of grounding, even if it's for 5 minutes. And I mean, this is so easy, Jordan. I'm talking like a new song, like Tibetan bowls or classical music. Any kind of music is very grounding. The right kind of music is grounding. Meditation. Maybe you find a meditation and you do it all week, every day for 5 minutes on Headspace or YouTube, or just being still and being quiet and focusing on your happy place that you have in your mind's eye. And the word for this week is generous. So during your time or your week or your journaling or your meditation time, I want you to ask yourself, am I generous? And then I want you to write down how you're generous. There's no right or wrong answers. Some people do not have time and they love to give money. Yeah. And that's awesome. Some people don't have money. All they have is time. Some people just have desires or crafts or things they want to make and give away, like meals or phone calls or spending time with someone. Anything generous with your time, with your money, with your heart, whatever. And I want you to write that down.
That's a good way to put it, because I think generous can mean something super strong sometimes, but that's a good way to put that you can be generous on a lot of things. That doesn't mean it's such a big deal. It's just.
Yeah. So what that is going to do is help you discover more of your spirit. You have a voice for your generation, you know?
Yeah.
I'm proud of you for doing it. Mi Maria, mi Maria. Okay, I just met with Jordan.
How was that?
It was so good. Like,
I
honestly,
everyone else's perspective. It's so good.
I know. And I love that she's doing this, you know, the Gen Zers.
Right.
And I even told her, I was blown away by what she said, but she was just telling me her experience and what she discovered about herself. And I was like, Jordan, the fact that you're getting this at your age right now, girl, I wish I had this information then.
Yeah.
Let me see your barking dog.
Oh. Can you see that good? Her name's little Betty Ruth.
Betty Ruth.
The smallest thing can make her think of like offense. Being offended. Instead of Spirit, who is patient and it's just, I guess it's maybe more self-centered, because it's like every little thing, you know, somebody can't do something or make an appointment or show up or something like that, and it's like, oh, they just don't want to talk to you, or they don't like you, or Betty's feistiness does also help me. I think you mentioned this in like talking about the need for ego. And it's like sometimes you need that little feistiness of your ego, or the harder voice that says like, keep going, get up, do the thing, quit being a baby, whatever.
Yeah.
I've noticed how much like unnecessary dialogue I take in from stuff that's just really is more black and white. Like I said, somebody just simply couldn't make an appointment, and it really had nothing to do with me, and it wasn't
taking things so personal.
Yeah. Which I'm sure you've read like the 4 agreements, and that's like one of the main things is like, don't take things personal. And I think that is an ego thing. It's like it's easy to turn everything back around to us, when really it's like most often
it's nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're just kind of part of the little. I will say, I think a piece of that, like after noticing it and then not letting my ego be overly hard on myself for reacting that way or feeling that way, it's like part of that is human nature. And I mean, it's a good thing to care what other people think, to a degree, to have some social awareness.
Sure.
And I mean, you can't just be like oblivious, you know.
Yeah.
And then also just recognizing the patterns that we have because of, you know, maybe things that like ways people related to us, you know, from a very young age. Or and so sometimes I'll recognize that that's probably why.
So did you do like the trail
Oh
back
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing?
It literally, like most everything that I struggle with in general, trails back to a feeling of rejection and a fear of that.
Yeah.
And so it can be the good side of that, and I guess the spirit side of that is caring a lot, wanting to please, wanting to help, wanting to love people really well, and you know, putting myself out there to be vulnerable because I do care. But then the ego side, the bad side, or I hate calling the ego bad, but the
Right.
I guess the darker side of that is the too much emphasis on what other people think, and if they're disappointed, or if the reason they didn't want to do something was because they just don't like me or whatever, you know. I mean, I've had this conversation with my own sister of like, which she's my sister, and like deep down I know she loves me and she's shown up for me in many ways in life, but I'll still feel she's older, and I'll still like just certain situations can make me, my ego, I guess, think like she's judging me, or she thinks she doesn't really like me, or she's disappointed in some way or whatever. And when I talk to her about it and get that out, and she's like, that couldn't be further from the truth.
Isn't
Like,
that crazy? That's
I'm really
something.
proud of you, or I'm, you know, maybe in some way, not envious, but just like admires a certain thing or whatever. And I'm like, wow, you know. And like I said, when it makes sense and you understand where things are coming from, it helps you to work to change and see the truth. But I think for me, it helped me because when you're struggling with something, then there's that extra load of, then you beat yourself up for struggling.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it's just like compounded.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like kind of a freedom of like, okay, there's a reason, there's a root, there's a, you know, I'm not crazy, or I'm not.
You don't take it so personal, right?
Yeah, it's just
in
like
a weird way.
Yeah, I understand why this happens. I recognize it when it does, and then I can choose how I respond to it instead of feeling like just consumed by it or burdened by it. You know, it's like it doesn't get to control you. Like
just exactly what you just said, consumed by it. And it helps you separate when you put the barking dog over here and this over here, and you can step back and look at yourself objectively and say, this is where I'm at, you know?
Overlooked, maybe even in just traditional counseling, because, you know, a lot of times that's helpful, but
yeah. Well, even the Christian counselors that we visited, never were we ever talked about God and spirit. They just happened to be a Christian. There wasn't this both ways. And that's interesting because this is all the stuff that I did with Miles and my kids when we were going through that. Sure, he had therapy and he need good, solid plan to help rebuild his life. But he's also my kid, and I know his spiritual gifts. And I know the other side of it that therapist doesn't know. And I feel like it's my responsibility to educate them and show them how to use those gifts in this world. It's going to give them more fulfillment and help others. Right.
I think I love that because I love that. Yes. As a parent or a friend or you know, whatever the relationship is of people that we love, if we have something that's helpful, like we are responsible to pass that along. But I love that, like, it's not you telling him this is how this is what you need to do, whatever, XYZ. It's helping people learn how they understand that there's tools. There are other people that can be a tool. God and the Holy Spirit absolutely are your source, but also you have a role in you are capable. Like there's no therapist, there's no doctor or other person that can do it for you. You know, I think
Right.
so often we want to find the healing somewhere, you know,
You want to
whether
go to the
it's,
therapist's office and be
yeah,
healed and walk away and all your problems are gone, but you got
yeah,
to put the work in and you got to try and you got to
yeah.
be aware and participate. Yeah.
But the cool thing is I'm like, once I realized that I had that power, I was like, that's actually fantastic. I mean, it's hard work and
Yeah.
whatever, but it's nice. It's like, okay, I don't have to like,
There's a way out.
yeah. No, it's super easy to go backwards, but you got to remember whatever triggers the backwards, you can get your way out of that too.
Because now you have the tools and the
Yeah.
information. Before you didn't. Now you do. Now you know what to do. All you gotta
Yeah.
do is just choose it. Do it.
Because it's easy to think that you can be like, oh, I'm better, you know, I'm better, I'm healed, I get it, I'm fine. And then you can have a, you know, a setback and it can feel overwhelming, but that's been a big lesson for me to learn that, you know, I didn't go all the way. Everyone is stays stuck for whatever reason, whatever our personal fear or our personal past or whatever. If we all just stay stuck and we can't move our mouth and we can't do what we're supposed to do, then guess what? Guess who wins? You know? So it's like understanding like where that opposition is even coming from and why.
There she is.
Hold
Look
it up.
at
Hold it
there.
up closer to the camera. It's so perfect. Because when I was sending you those pictures and you were like, no, no. And I felt it too. I was like, mm.
Yeah.
And she's like, you go, yeah, the ear. It's not a perfect
Yeah.
thing. And when I saw it, it was the third one. And I'm like, I'm sending it last. I'm saving the best for last. I
Yeah.
know she'll pick that one.
Yeah. No, because it's kind of that little imperfect ear, but kind of, and also that little, almost a little bit of a mischievous, goofy looking, but yet that, you know, protective, strong. So yeah, no, and it was fun. You know, it's fun to do that because it does cause you to really just sit and think about. And when stuff happens, you're like, oh, there it is. And there she is, whatever her name is.
Yeah. Carrie and I talked a little bit, and it was almost like you don't take it so personal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you can separate, you know, Tina's over here. I know my best self is right here. I
Yeah.
know I'm going to hear from God in my best self.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So let me ask you now that Adam knows Tina, right? He knows who Tina is in the name. This is what I've wondered because I haven't told Sonny about all the, you know, all of this yet. Does he ever go, okay, maybe you need to go talk to Tina, or I see Tina coming out, or
yeah. Well, actually, what it has done is created a whole dialogue with my kids and my family. So I thought, you know, why aren't we doing this? You know, if I'm doing this with my friends, let's do it as a family. And so we sat down, journaled, I explained the whole thing, and that was so fun to do it with your kids because they're visual that way, and they're not going to sit and listen to your whole lecture, you know, from some Dr. Caroline Leaf and what she believes neuroscientists, blah, 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 you know.
Yeah.
They're just going to participate. And Major was hilarious. He came up with his dog, the personality. He came up with their cousins and their friends and his home life. I mean, this whole picture. It was awesome.
I love it.
And then when you got him there, you know, okay, well, what kind of things did the barking dogs say to you? And I asked them that. And so did you notice, I'm not asking you exactly what it said, but is there anything that you can share that you did notice?
I think that it's made me think about when I'm in a situation, something that comes up, I'm like, oh, and like, there, I mean, a couple things. I can give a couple examples, like being at the gym. And we've talked about this, touched on a little bit. Am I going to be more the cheerleader that, oh man, she looks fabulous. She's here every day working her butt off, you know, or am I more like, well, there she is again in her, whatever, and oh, she got more new leggings, or whatever it is. And it's funny because this week I found myself with one particular lady, just seeing her and going, I wanted to think great thoughts, but I was like, oh, there she is again in her tiny little top and then I'm going, what? Wait, hold on there. Who is that and what is that? And you think she looks amazing. She's probably an incredibly kind lady. She's here every day like you are, working her butt off. And instead, maybe go tell her how much you love her leggings and go cheer her on. And so it just kind of caused me to look at that side that just kind of sneaks out, that judgmental, critical side. And I didn't like it. So it's made me more aware of it. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And what's cool is you can stop and go, well, wait a minute, that's not my heart.
Yeah.
That's not who I am. Why am I thinking that? Did you get any journaling time in this week?
I did. I wrote down. I probably don't write as much as I would like to because my hands do get really sore when I write, and it's really frustrating. But they do. It's just a fact, and my hand just gets pretty sore. So I think that kind of slows me down from writing as much. But just a situation with Sonny, and where he was telling me something, and I came back with what he said. Sometimes you can just come across really hard and harsh. And like when you hear that, you're like, oh, ouch, and the automatic is to be defensive, but then again, thinking about it, like he had kind of walked away after that. And then he came back, and it caused me to go, okay, yeah, what about that made it feel hard and harsh to you? Because it's not my heart. It's not how I want to come across. And I think sometimes I do it. I don't even remember what we were talking about, what was going on. But I think a lot of times it's also my protective mode. And it comes across more like I'm being hard because all of a sudden I feel like a need to self-protect when I don't need to self-protect. I mean, God has shown me a million times that he is my protector. He's he's the one that's going to step in for me, and I don't have to come across with a hard, harsh, tough exterior when really inside it's a whole different situation,
We are the same person, Carla. Really,
Yeah.
really. That is. I've even stopped and thought about it because, I do voiceovers. And my very first coach, you have a tone. Everyone has a tone in their voice, a pitch, a tone, inflections. And she's so sweet, this first technical coach that I had. And she was like, Carrie, you sound like a bitch. And I was like, so when we would practice and I would go back and listen to myself, I could hear that. And I really explored it. Like, why do I have that tone? And I am a lot like you with the self, protection thing. But I also realized that it is the way you're raised. Who are you raised by and how do they talk?
Yeah.
So I went back in my lineage and noticed how my mom and my grandmother talked. And they're German. And they're love you to pieces, but that's how they talk. So I really believe not only is it your experiences, your surroundings, all the things, but it's kind of like how you were brought up too.
Yeah.
Do you see a little bit of that in yourself?
Oh, I fully agree with that. Yes. I mean, if I look back like you did, I grew up like that, and a lot of hardness, a lot of harshness, a lot of loud, abrupt, and not a lot of softness, gentleness, tenderness, especially in tone. And that's funny because that's one of the things, that I always told my kids was it's your tone. It's what comes across that you may be trying to be kind, but there's that tone that's showing you're feeling something else other than what you're really saying. But yes, I had a, loud dad, loud grandfather, everybody was just loud and just, hard, just kind of, ugh.
If you needed to get a word in edgewise, the only way you were is if you were strong and had a voice to get that word in, or you weren't going to get it in,
Yeah.
So it's so interesting because at first when she said it so sweet, but in a way I kind of already knew it by my experiences, and I don't want to change who I am, and I don't want to change myself, but it was definitely a self-reflection. And how do I speak? How do I come across? Because I don't want to come across that way, but in those times of quick reaction, and then I feel like I am being defensive or I'm backed up against the corner, I'm gonna find my way out of that corner.
Yeah.
Do you think that's kind of
Oh,
what
yeah.
it is?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so much of that for me, that's a whole nother story, but is my self-protection as a kid and growing up and the things that I went through. And I just, often felt like I was retreated to a corner by myself because I had to be, and I had to protect, and I had to be strong, and I had to, fight back and be loud because that's how you got heard. And and I think, grew hard. I think for a long time, a hardened kind of heart, but not really, because inside it was sensitive, gentle girl crying out, just wanted to feel like she didn't, and didn't want to have to feel like she had to protect herself, that she was protected, not protect herself. But so yeah.
And so listening to her spirit and deciding. So one morning I woke up and, I'm practicing and doing all these steps with you guys. And one morning I woke up and I noticed that the barking dog would not stop, wouldn't shut up, and there's different things. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, this day, these things. And it's more of a, I got all this ahead of me and how am I going to do this? And blah, blah, instead of, I got a great day, I'm going to do this and that and the other. And so it was more of those kind of things. And I stopped and I just said, Spirit, lead. And it was instant, Carla. It was instant. All of a sudden, there was a quick change. I go to my cycle class. I teach my cycle class. There's a lady that comes in there. She's been coming to my cycle class for a year or more. And she's so bright. She always has a smile on her face. When she walks into a room, you can feel it. She doesn't have to say anything. And this particular day, which was last Tuesday, I go, and after class, I said, how are you doing? And she was like, oh, I'm doing great. And this is where I listen to my spirit. I had a lot going on that day. I had a choice. Do I say something to her or not? Because I could get out of here a lot faster. I've got this and this and this to do, being real, right? So I asked her and she was like, oh, I'm doing great. And I go, I just got this really strong feeling, girl, because when you walk in here, your spirit is bigger than this room. And right now I'm feeling like something's up. And I had a feeling it was her health. And I said, no, really, what is it? And she goes, I was just diagnosed with melanoma.
Oh my gosh.
And right then Pauline came in the room because she was taking yoga next door. Her sister has had melanoma for 7 years. And they start talking. And then we start talking about Sylvestra, who is a member at the Y that a couple of weeks ago walked into my yoga class and told everyone that she was just diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And I'm telling her and Pauline and several other members about this story about Sylvestra. And I said, it was right before class. And I looked around and I said, all of you know what I believe, but I am going to pray. And if you don't believe what I believe, it's okay. But I know that every single person believes in love. And so if you could just send her love right now, because God is love.
Yeah.
And we prayed. And then,
Wow.
and so I told this story to these women and to this woman that had told me she had melanoma. And it was, my body just did this. I didn't decide it. I didn't think about it. My hand just went directly onto her arm. And I started praying for her. And I said, my God is a healer and a provider. And I know that he can heal you right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, she just kind of smiled and we all left. And that is where I could have decided if I do that, she's going to go tell everyone I'm a weirdo. I'm this woman that thinks I can go around healing people. I don't think I can. I know God can.
Yes.
And I know that he uses people as vessels.
Yeah.
And so I truly believe that if my barking dog is telling me don't do that because she's going to go tell everybody this, then I'm not a vessel for God. He
Yeah.
can't use me for his glory if I'm not willing to participate in it.
Yeah.
And so what if she told everybody that? So what? I'm not going to die. I still have all the love for my family and a
Yeah.
great life. And what if it worked?
Yeah.
And what if it didn't work? What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
There's nothing to lose in any of it, right?
And what other seeds did you plant in that process? And you may never know about them, you know, in other people. What seeds did you plant praying over her and people hearing you and hearing you also saying that you don't have to believe what I believe, but I know you believe in love. And if you send her your love, you know, what a kind and loving and open-handed thing to do for other people to see and go, I don't have to believe exactly as her, but I do kind of, I'm kind of interested in what she's saying, and maybe I do want to learn more. And, you know, so you being that vessel, it's the seeds we plant that we don't always see the fruition of it, but we listen to that spirit and we move forward with it, no matter what others might think or what they're going to say about us, but it doesn't mean it's always easy.
Oh my
You know,
gosh, I know, right? That
doesn't mean it's easy because we're so consumed. I say me, with what others think, and oh my gosh, how's that going to come across or whatever. And then there's the times I'm like, why do I care? I don't care.
yeah.
You know, I
And
don't
like
care.
I told her and these other people, I said, the reason that I can tell you in such confidence is because of my experience. You know, when I was in my 20s, there was a girl that came over that had a lump and was told she had breast cancer. I said, let's pray. And we did. She went back to the doctor and there was no lump, no breast cancer. You know,
Yeah.
there's another member named Mala who had colon cancer.
Mm.
I've never told this story on public, and I don't know if I'll tell any of this, Carla. I really don't.
Yeah.
Between
Yeah.
you and me. I want to tell you though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted my kids involved. And I trained Mala for a year and a half. So I was very close to her. And when she told me this, you know, it hurt me like family.
Yeah.
And so I got the kids involved. We would send her scriptures. My kids made this huge poster with encouragement all over it. We mailed it to her. And, you know, just to be in her life during that time was so great. And she was so thankful. And she framed the poster and said it gave her so much encouragement. She doesn't have colon cancer anymore.
Mm.
Did I heal her? No, God healed her.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
it bless me beyond measure to be part of that and be in her walk? Yes. Showed my kids the power of being there for people, you know.
Yeah.
She could have died. And
Yeah.
what would have happened if she would have died? It would have been terrible. But at least I was there for her, giving her encouragement along the way
Yeah.
and just loving her more love while she was
Right.
here. But
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
here. We still text and talk.
Oh.
So she went on and on. And she said that the YMCA 360 has a cancer exercise link that has been wonderful for her to be able to use.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been
I'm
really
gonna want
neat.
an update on that one.
I know, right? So
Yeah.
bad. So
Yeah.
much. You know, last week we talked about the barking dog and getting familiar with that. And I don't want to stick on it, but now we know. Let's
Yeah.
open ourselves up this week to what is spirit telling us to do. And we kind of gave a couple examples. I loved your example at the gym, Carla, because that's so real. It's
Yeah.
so real. I've had those
Well,
same
it's
thoughts.
not what you want to think. You don't want those
No,
thoughts in your head, and you know
no.
it's not your heart.
Yeah.
But yet,
And I've asked
there you
myself,
are.
why?
I
Why
know.
did I just think that about that girl?
Right.
Because I'm
Why do I?
jealous?
Yeah. Right. Right. And I think it definitely goes to that because she's obviously younger than me too. And it's going to that place of as I get older, it's you see someone like that and you want to just like cheer them on and but then that little thing comes slipping in and you're like, next thing you know, you're in your mind, you're being critical. And I'm like, I don't want to be that way.
Yeah.
That is not who I am.
So I asked myself, why am I jealous?
Yeah.
Why? Is it because she's younger? Well, I'm not going to get any
Yeah.
younger.
Yeah, I'm not getting there.
She's pretty. Be happy for that girl. Aren't we all trying to be
I
pretty?
know. Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe some people are trying to be ugly, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Realize those things about yourself. But I think it's important because then it causes you to become aware when that comes in and to deflect it and take it the other way and realize who you really are and where your heart really is.
Yeah. It's hard work.
It
This
is.
is not easy work.
Yeah, I know. Why did I sign up for this?
Yeah. You didn't have a choice. Here, Frank, this week, you have a word, and that's generous.
Right.
Being generous opens up your heart. And I know that I can list off all the million ways that Carla Allen is generous because she just is. But there are some people that aren't because they're hurt. And so this week, I want to ask you to just, in your quiet time, put your hand, over your heart. And your question is, how am I generous? How do I love to be generous? Because some people, they only like to be generous with their money because that's all that they can do. Some people like to be generous with their time because they don't have money and that's all they have is time. Or they're just an amazing cook or crafter or write letters to people or phone call or just any way to be generous with your time, with your money, with your talents, And I want you to just think about how you like to be generous. And I want you to write down the ways that you are generous and really go a little deeper in that. And then why, discovering yourself a little bit more of why you really like that. Because there's an underlying reason why, and it's wonderful and it can really open your eyes to even more. Find out what you don't like to be generous with and why. And there's no right or wrong answers. I'm not going to ask you to share this, just being real with yourself.
Yeah.
And writing, as we said, is therapeutic. Dr. Caroline Leaf, you'll hear me talk about her with the others and how she recommends doodling while you're on the phone, while you're trying to learn something. If you're watching, a video or a learning module, I want you to doodle. While you're on the phone, I want you to doodle. If you're meditating or journaling, I want you to doodle. And what do I mean by doodling? I don't mean I want you to go, What should I draw? I'm going to draw a flower. No, I want you to take your pen. And I did this while we were on the phone a couple of times because I've always done this anyway. And I'm like, how do I get permission?
Yeah.
And so I'm just noticing my emotions right now and how I feel. And I'm moving my pen right now with my emotions, right? Oh my God. Oh my God. Right. So
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever it is. And I'll let me kind of show you a little, just for an example. You see all
Oh,
those like
wow.
little things?
Uh-huh.
I don't know why. I was like, I feel like my arm's going this way and around this way. So what's the importance of even doing that? And Caroline Leaf is a doctor. She's a neuroscientist and a Christian, and I just love her. And she has this book called The Brain Detox. Carrie's actually done it and read it, loved it. And it's one of the things that she recommends that you do because you have a part in your brain called the basal ganglia. And when you start doing that, it actually opens it up for you to receive information and understand information better. Like college students that are in lectures, they would doodle and they found that they retained more information when they let their pen flow while they're listening. So I tell this to Miles last night, and Miles is like, well, maybe somebody is just maybe they're just smarter. And I was like, no, they took the same person. So they took you taking, the information down, what you absorbed, and then took you, patient whatever, and did the doodling and actually found that you did do it. And they proved it by showing that inside your brain. So I thought that was such a cool, I never
Yeah.
knew that,
The bunny ears over a fence. And yeah.
You gotta show me that one.
Those were things that I used to doodle like all the time. If you saw something in my notebooks, those were my doodles.
I love that. So you won't
Yeah.
have a problem doodling this week.
I don't think doodling will be a problem.
Yeah. So last week, like I said, we focused on trying to identify between the two. This week, we're really just opening up your brain and connect it with your spirit, kind of like a mind-body connection,
Yeah.
and see how that goes and let it flow. See how spirit leads you this week. Notice what you choose spirit telling you to do instead of the barking dog. If you can do that for me.
Yeah.
I want you to open yourself to new ways of grounding. I told this to Carrie and to Jordan as well. Jordan loves to read. Jordan has to be moving her hands all the time. Those kind of things really help her. Puzzles help her, help ground her. And so I asked her, I want her to listen. I want her to find a piece of music this week that really resonates with her that she can turn on immediately to help ground her. So for her, that's what I asked, her to do. Carrie, she meditates, journals, and does yoga every single day. And so I just asked her to go explore if she found something that she for sure wouldn't do or that she would for sure incorporate again. Just more self-discovery of things that you like. Sometimes we get kind of just in our little routines, but we're going to open up our spirit and see where spirit leads us to grounding our heart, opening our heart, self-discovery and our generosity, right? And just being open during the week.
And I feel like this has been a learning process and it's good. So
definitely
enjoyed it.